Hi, so today I'm doing, oh my god, wow, good start. So today I'm talking all about Jingo by Terry Pratchett. I have a series on my channel where I read all of the Discworld books. It started out as like a very sporadic sort of thing, but now I am officially halfway through the City Watch sub-series of Discworld. This is the fourth book. There are 8 books, therefore I am halfway through. City Watch sub-series follows Sam Vimes, who is like the leader of the City Watch in Ankh-Morpork, and Carrot, who's kind of like he's like second in command. Even though it's like an ongoing series, they're all sort of standalones. When I went into this book, a lot of people were like, oh, it's Terry Pratchett does war. I would like to politely disagree with that. I think this is Terry Pratchett does the political machinations surrounding war, but I think Terry Pratchett does war is more Monstrous Regiment. That's just my personal opinion. I don't know if people agree with that, but basically the setup for this book is that we've got 2 countries. The city of Ankh-Morpork on one side of this really big river, and on the other side there's the country of Klatch. It'll be on the screen because my accent is bad and I can't say things properly. There's Ankh-Morpork and Klatch, and they really hate each other. It's a very sort of thinly veiled, like this is England, Western culture, and Klatch is like, like a stand-in for like essentialist views of Middle Eastern cultures. Basically, one day there are these 2, there's an Ankh-Morpork fisherman and there's a Klatchian fisherman. They're, out on the big river, and suddenly this huge island rises up in the like smack bang in the middle of the river, and they're both there. They both set foot on it at the same time. So now there's this big territorial dispute that's brewing in between Ankh-Morpork and Klatch. And this book follows the City Watch as they kind of try and deal with that. Wow, that was actually kind of coherent. I'm kind of impressed with myself. Yeah, good one. The way these videos work is basically I talk about the book for a bit, and I'm going to talk about like what I liked about the book, what I didn't like about the book, and then I'm going to talk about, connections that this book makes to other books in the Discworld series. When I started this video series, it was very sort of like regimented. I did 3 things that were good and 3 things that were bad and then 3 connections, but like, I don't know, it's kind of just devolved into me being like, yeah, here it is, and 3 connections, or however many connections I want to make, because it's very chill like this, and I kind of enjoy it better. Anyway, that wasn't a proper use of the English language. Well, I'm doing so well today. The first thing that I noticed with this book was that it really takes you in a different direction from the last 3 books in the City Watch sub-series, because the other ones have kind of been like mysteries set in Ankh-Morpork, and this book started out like that. There's really 3 parts to this book. There's the first half, and then there's the last 2 quarters. The first half is like an Ankh-Morpork mystery, and I actually thought that was really, really interesting. I was very, very invested in that. It was really, really good. Second half, we go over to Klatch, and then there's, business in Klatch and that sort of thing, which was fine, I guess. It felt a bit meandering, and like Terry Pratchett was getting a bit bored with some of the stuff that he was doing, but I thought it was all really interesting. It was just very jumpy, but basically, the reason that I started that whole ramble was that one thing that I really liked about this book was that it takes it in a very new direction than it has been in the past 3 City Watch books. The past ones have been like very mystery and very focused in the city, but in this one we go to a lot of different locations. People get separated, and there are different dynamics that come into play. I really liked seeing the way that the characters reacted to these new situations they were being put in. It was really, really cool. I think that this book is a really good example of just how good Terry Pratchett's writing style can be. If you've read a Discworld book, you'll know that it's sort of intercut. There aren't any chapters, and it intercuts between, different third-person perspectives. And really, really well in this book, and I really enjoyed how good it was at building tension and sort of setting up action and that sort of thing. I think Terry Pratchett did a really good job with his writing style in this book. I really enjoyed it. It's obviously very funny. I've tabbed a lot of quotes in there. It's hilarious. I had a great time when I read this book, and I think Terry Pratchett's writing style really shines in this one as well. The quote on the back of the book says that this is an ideal starting point for those who've never read Discworld. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that the reason that I enjoyed this book so much was because it showcases the characters that I've really grown to love throughout the City Watch sub-series really, really well. I think that Terry Pratchett is at a place in this book where he really understands who these characters are and how they work together, and I really, really enjoyed that. I thought it was great. Angua, Carrot, Vimes, even Nobby and Colin, just a really good showcase of like Terry Pratchett's character work and stuff like that. I really, really enjoyed the characters in this book. I thought they were great. Also, about characters, one thing I will mention is that we get a lot of the patrician in this book, and one thing that I had never noticed before, but maybe it's new in this book, is that the patrician walks with an ivory cane. I think that is so cool, like totally irrelevant and, not noteworthy at all, but also absolutely noteworthy because I love that image. I think it's great. Like, wow. Honestly, just iconic. I love it. One thing that kind of rubbed me the wrong way about this book is, I kind of mentioned it earlier as well, like, I don't know how to phrase this, and I don't know if I'm saying this properly or not, but I feel like Ankh-Morpork and Klatch were kind of made out to be these like really weird essentialist caricatures of like Western and Middle Eastern cultures. And I don't know how to say that or if I'm saying it right. And I don't even know if it is an issue in this book. I just think that it could just be Terry being Terry, but also I don't know how to make that distinction, and I think that also kind of is an issue in and of itself. I'm not trying to be like, this book is problematic, because it's not. It's Terry Pratchett. He's great. It's fine. But like, it's kind of one thing that rubbed me the wrong way, especially when you consider like the City Watch sub-series as it has been, and it's all about like race relations and that sort of thing, like with Feet of Clay, and even in Men at Arms and that sort of thing. It was all about race relations and like, the fact that like it's fine and it doesn't matter, when in this book, the differences between the two are very like noticeable, and they're noted by a lot of the characters. One thing though, like they are, now that I'm thinking about it, they're noted by like Colin and Nobbs, which like are two of the characters who are just like, they're just joke characters. Like, it's fine. So on one hand, I think it's fine, but on the other hand, I think that because it's there, it's, I don't know. I don't know how to finish this sentence or like how to even talk about this, but like, here's a topic, let's discuss that in the comments if you want. If you don't want to, that's fine. But, here it is. I'm sure this is the quality content and discussion that you guys come here for, because I'm just so coherent all the time. Don't you just understand what I'm saying? Because I don't. Another thing that I kind of didn't like about this book, and that I've already sort of mentioned, is that it's in 3 parts, and it was good, but I just feel like a lot of the things either it's not that they weren't resolved, it's just that they weren't resolved in a way that was satisfying to me. Like, that whole mystery, it kind of spoilers here, I guess, that mystery from the first half of the book kind of just sort of gets explained away by the villain in the third part of the book, and it felt like a bit of a cop-out. Like, it's still good and fine, and the book was still great and funny, and it ended in a really good way, but I think that aspect of the book was kind of unsatisfying for me, and I didn't really enjoy that. I didn't go into this book with like incredible expectations, because no one really talks about it when they talk about like really good Discworld books, and I think that's a shame, because I think it is a really, really good book, but it obviously has some issues, but like any other book, it's not going to be perfect. I didn't expect it to be perfect, like it's a book, and it was written by a human. Let's get on to connections that this book makes to other books in the Discworld series. I always love doing this bit. It's so much fun. So, first off, obviously it's a City Watch book, so, recurring characters there. But Chancellor Ridcully, who works at the Unseen University, he's back in this book, and I wasn't expecting that, but, he's there, and he actually has, like, dialogue. He's not just mentioned, like, he has a part to play in the first half of this book. It's really cool. Leonard of Quirm, who we first met in Men at Arms, is back and has, like, a huge role in this book, and wow. I kind of recognized the name when I read it at first, and I had to Google it just to be sure, but wow. I cannot believe I forgot about Leonard of Quirm. I was shocked when I realized that I had already read him before, because he's fantastic, and I love him, and he's great. Wow, what a character. It's just great. It's so funny, and I love him and Vetinari. They just have such good chemistry together, and wow, just phenomenal. I love it. In the first part of this book, there is a parade, between Klatch and Ankh-Morpork to be like, everything's fine, we're fine. Obviously it's not, but like, that's how the politicians are trying to deal with it in the first half of this book. And there are tourists, they're all watching this parade, and there is an Agatian tourist with an iconograph, and as I was reading it, I was like, is this a Discworld reference? And then I looked at the book and I realized I was reading a Discworld book, and I was like, wow, is this tourist with an iconograph from the Counterweight continent? Is this Two Flower? And then I realized that, probably not, because Two Flower, if I would know if he was back. I got way too excited about it, but I just even if it's not Two Flower, and you know for a fact that it's not Two Flower, just let me have this. I just want to think that Two Flower came back to Angmore Pork and like came to see Rincewind. Just let me have this, okay? Because I like to think that it is Two Flower, even though it's like absolutely not Two Flower. You know, fingers crossed, I hope so. Another thing that I totally forgot to mention in this book is that it's just, you know, it's a real good return to like absurdity for Terry Pratchett, because even in like Feet of Clay, you know, you can kind of get the feeling that he's going more for that like a monstrous regiment, like still like satirical and funny, but like, you know, more on the realist side of things. But, you know, with this book, we had a real good return to like the light fantastic and the color of magic, where, wow, I'm actually speaking good of those books, where, you know, you had some really crazy stuff go down in the second and third part of these books, where it was just like nonsensical but great, and I love it. One part of that was Vimes' Disorganizer, and how, I won't spoil it, but there's like a thing that happens temporally where, you know, it's a little bit out of sync. It's just great, and it actually like provided one of my more emotional moments reading Discworld. Like, if you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about, and it actually really got me. I was like, wow, I need to take a second, because it made me realize just how much I love all of these characters, and if anything were to happen to them, I would be so sad, like genuinely. It really got to me. The last thing I want to mention is I met something new in this book. We met a Gnoll, Gnoll, which is like a kind of trash being, I guess. The way that it was described is they kind of like pick up trash as they go, sort of thing. But basically the way it was described is like they pick up trash as they go, and they kind of digest trash as well. I'd never met one before, but the one that we met in this book, their name was Stoolie, which, you know, it's just, you know, true Terry Pratchett form. It was great. I love it. But this was the first time I met them, and it was really funny. It was great. I think that's all I have to say about this book. I dread myself editing this, because I just, you know, with every passing week, I just get more and more incoherent. But, you know, Jingo by Terry Pratchett, it was great, and I loved it. Obviously, it has some flaws, but, you know, it was good. And it's gonna go down in my memory as a good book. I'm gonna remember it and be like, wow, you know, that was a good book. What am I saying at this point? I have no idea. But because I'm continuing my read of the City Watch sub-series, the next book that I have to read is The Fifth Elephant by Terry Pratchett. That's right, I own it. It's in my hands. Wow. Which means I can read it before the next 3 months passes. Also, can we just talk about how huge this book is? Like, it's bigger than my head. Are you joking? That's ridiculous. Also, it's a hardcover. Like, wow. Excuse me? Like, it looks phenomenal. I'm so excited to read this book. It's going to be great. It's going to be a good time. I think that this is the one that I've heard, you know, some things about, but I'm just very intrigued by the title, because the fifth elephant, there are 4 elephants holding up the disc. What is this fifth elephant? Why is it coming from the sky? Why is Sam Vimes a man on the run? I want to find out. Let me know if you've read Jingo, or if you have any thoughts that are the same, similar, or, you know, completely opposite to my thoughts, because I want to have discussions in the comments below about Jingo by Terry Pratchett. Let me know if you're going to read The Fifth Elephant in preparation for my Fifth Elephant video, whenever that comes, in the next 3 months. Oh my god. Yeah, thank you so much for watching and sticking around until the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you all next week with a new one.